This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right, there he is, trying to flex some muscles. How you doing, my brother? You doing good?
I'm good, man. How are you? Back from a couple days up north, and happy to be back in the warmth. So,
and you're happy not to have to wake up at 3 a.m. to do the damn show.
That too. I love doing the show. It was a blast. But
sure
it definitely does take some getting used to waking up that early.
When I used to do that shift, I had to get a nap in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Or if not, I was useless.
You're exhausted, right? And so there's two things there. You have to get used to getting up, but you're also done at 10 o'clock, which feels very weird. But at the same time, like you said, I got tired super early in the day. So I didn't get to take advantage of like, oh, let's do stuff in the night, or I fell asleep like halfway through 7 o'clock games because, you know, you're just tired. So it's a balance. I'm sure if I did it full time, you get used to it. But going from my schedule when I probably wake up regularly like 7:30, go to sleep like 10:30, 11, to pushing that up 3 hours each way, that's definitely different.
I did it for a while, and I always had to get a little nap in between the day, or if not, I wouldn't be able to last the whole day into the night. And I'm the guy that wants to watch the games.
Yep.
So, you know, because a lot of people that do those morning shows, they normally go to sleep really early, actually. Yep. They don't really watch the games. They just kind of wake up in the morning, watch the highlights, read the about it and all that, and then they kind of formulate their opinion from that, but they didn't really watch the games. I'm the nutbag that really wants to watch the games.
Right. And that would hurt me too. Like I would want to watch the Sunday night game. I would want to watch the Monday night game. Those games aren't ending until 11:30, 12. You got to be up in three and a half hours. So
right. And doing what I do, I got to watch, you know, I watch the Panthers game, and I watch the Dolphins game. I watch the Marlins game. I watch the Heat game. I watch the Inter Miami game. You know what I mean? Yep. So I gotta watch the game. So yeah, it's a brutal time. When I started doing this, I was like, yeah, I'm not going early. You know, 10 is good. It's right in the middle of the day. It allows me to sleep in still to a decent time. And then, you know, I'm done early too, but I still have time and I still have energy for the rest of the day, you know?
Yes.
All right, let's, you know, we've gotten to a point now. We used to make fun of Oliver Stone, and I don't know who you know. I don't know if you know who that is. A film director, really famous one.
No.
And he's you know, he's made some movies in the past, and he was always kind of the conspiracy theory guy.
Okay.
And we used to make fun of Oliver Stone. In fact, we would call people Oliver Stone back in the day. And that was a reference like, come on, dude, it's not a conspiracy theory. So I know that in today's world, everything is a conspiracy theory. If you don't believe it, it's a conspiracy theory.
Okay.
And so I'm sorry about the Lamar Jackson thing. This isn't a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
If people don't sign him, it's because he's a running quarterback that's been injured the last 2 years. He wants a fully guaranteed contract with 2 first-round picks that you got to pay. That's a lot of compensation for anybody out there. So it's very understandable that most will not want to do this. But there is nothing to do with conspiracy theory, and they're all getting together to not sign him. Bullshit. This is a league that will sign a triple murderer if they can help you win a championship. And you saw what happened with Deshaun Watson. They signed him, and he had a crap ton of baggage in Cleveland. The problem is stupid teams do stupid things when they're desperate. And the Browns were desperate, just like the Raiders were dumb in giving John Gruden a ridiculous contract that then ruined the market for coaches and everybody else in the league, because here comes Matt Rule getting a same contract type of treatment when he didn't deserve it. He didn't even win a Super Bowl in this league. At least John Gruden won a Super Bowl. At least he had success with the Raiders and all that. So there was some track record to why you would want to give him that. To me, in this league, bro, they would sign anybody and everybody that they can if they will help you win. If they're not signing Lamar, it's because there are the legitimate concerns that I just talked about. So where are you going? Legitimate concerns, or are you going conspiracy theory too?
I'm not going conspiracy theory, but I will say it is notable that a lot of people are out as quickly as they are. Because you look at quarterbacks who've gotten contracts. Daniel Jones just got $40 million from the Giants. Derek Carr just got $37.5 million.
No compensation. No compensation. No compensation.
So those deals are 2-year guarantees versus 4-year guarantees, correct? But at the same time, we don't know. Like, we've heard some reports, but we don't know for a fact what number Lamar is his breakaway point. Everybody's saying, "Oh, the Deshaun contract." We don't know that for sure. And do teams know that for sure? To me, a conversation.
So what you're saying is that because Josina Anderson was completely off on the Dolphins report, she's also off on the fact that Deshaun Watson says he wants no less than what Deshaun Watson got.
I'm not saying I don't like to conflict people's report. I just report what I report, and so I could tell you that the Dolphins are keeping Tua quarterback in 2023, and I've reported that for months now. That Tua will be the Dolphins quarterback in 2023. I would be absolutely shocked. You know, I never say never, but I would be shocked. And so people put out their reports, and I see them, and they talk to people maybe different than I do. And hey, more power to you. But I knew that to be something that I felt comfortable with our reporting with. So the same thing with Lamar. If I'm a team, I could see that report, but at the same time, I want to talk to Lamar. Maybe his number is different from I've seen it before where your number is different for one team than it is for another. Maybe it is right. Maybe he asks for a Deshaun contract there. He does the market search and realizes he might not get it. And he says, okay, well, I'll take 150 million. Guaranteed or whatever. I'm just putting a number in the air. I remember AJ Brown. AJ Brown did a podcast with the Memphis podcast company called Raw Room. Former NFL linebacker Darren Bates, and he was talking about the Tennessee Titans negotiations and how they went and how they didn't go. They went poorly. He said initially he and his team asked for the world, like you do in a lot of negotiations. He said they were asking for over $25 million a year. The Titans, this is his words, not my words. He said the Titans came back with about 15, 16 million, and neither side moved. And so that was that. They eventually traded him, and then Philly ended up signing him for, I think, about 22. And so ultimately, AJ came out later and said, I would have taken 22 from the Titans, but they never got there because the Titans were hardlining their number, and AJ was hardlining his number. And so nobody ever moved. And so to me, there always seemed to be, and like I said, I've not talked to Lamar. I've talked to people around the situation, but it always seemed to me that even if he asked for, hey, I wanted a Deshaun contract, and the Ravens said, hey, no, we're only willing to give you 120 million guaranteed. There's somewhere in the middle where it's a little less than fully guaranteed, but not quite 120, that you can find that medium. And to me, there just seemed to be a disconnect between Lamar and the Ravens that we never got that. And so if I'm a team and I really like the idea of Lamar, what hurts me having a conversation and figuring out what is that true number? That's the part that bothers me.
Yeah, but no, you keep missing, you keep leaving out 2 first-round picks.
Correct. But there were 4 or 5 teams.
Daniel Jones situation. We got to stop. We got to stop with the comparisons on the Daniel Jones situation.
Okay. So I'll give you a comparison.
Hold on a second. The Giants were desperate.
Can I finish?
Okay, go ahead.
4 or 5 teams were willing to give Deshaun Watson 3. They were willing to give Cleveland or Houston 3 or 4 first-round picks and give Deshaun a big deal to get a guy who had 20+ sexual harassment / assault cases against him at that point, who hadn't won an MVP like Lamar did, who we saw him on the field this year look pretty bad, and you saw teams lining up to be willing to do that. And so to me, the fact that everybody's immediately saying, without even thinking, I'm out, that to me doesn't line up given what we just saw last offseason. That part is what bothers me. Like I said, I'm not like saying there's a whole conspiracy and 32 owners are getting together and say we're not giving Lamar anything. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. If they pulled that off, then hey, props to them. I did not see it coming. But I do think it is odd to me that everybody is so completely out. Maybe there's something I'm missing there, but everybody is so completely
out.
out.
I think there's a lot of you missing the fact that, okay, it's not just he's not really a regular quarterback. You have to now change your entire offense for him because you are now running a running offense now. And then he takes punishment. That's not what Deshaun Watson does. That's not what other quarterbacks do. He has to run in order to be effective. He's been out 10 games the last 2 years. He doesn't really actually have success in the playoffs. Maybe they were even willing to go with the alleged rapist because they actually look at him like a real quarterback, a passer. So they'll take the chance instead of the guy that doesn't have a long shelf life, because nobody has a long shelf life in the history of the NFL playing in that style. Cam Newton is bigger, stronger than this guy, and he couldn't finish out his career playing his style. Why? Because he wasn't a great passer. Right. And that's what hurt Cam. And I think this is the part that I somehow see, some others do, but a lot of people keep missing out with Lamar Jackson, that they are wowed by his legs, but they don't see that his arm might be wickedly strong, but it's not accurate. It's not the part I laugh is, oh, he's going to come to Miami and McDaniels all of a sudden going to change his offense because Lamar can't run McDaniels' offense. But now McDaniels going to change his offense to a running offense. You know what I mean? And Greg Roman left and went to another place. Did he get tired of running a running quarterback offense? There's a lot more to adding Lamar than just the money and the picks. You have to change your entire offense to suit his skills. And that's going to then have a trickle-down effect. And that's what I think a lot of teams are looking at. We got to give him a fully guaranteed contract. We got to give 2 first-rounders, and we now have to change our offense completely to cater his style. And I think that that's the part that people are missing. I think there are people in the NFL looking at it like I am, like, he's really not a great passer. He doesn't have success in the playoffs. They're a running team. They're a defensive team. They give him the foundation. But then when they need the quarterback, he's not there. He has to be running. He has to have a lead. He has to be a front runner. That's kind of what his game is. That's what, once he falls behind, that offense is not built to come back. And why? Because he's not a pure passer. And to me, there's more to this story than just the compensation.
There certainly is more to the story. And I think the main thing that's more to the story is just the relationship between the Ravens and Lamar. It's got toxic at times, and a lot of it has been a lack of communication. You can put that on Lamar if you want. Maybe it's on him not having an agent. That's been brought up. Maybe it's on the Ravens not speaking to him the way he wants to be spoke to. The injury thing at the end of the season and the rehab, and whether he was healthy enough to play and not healthy enough to play. Those are all elements here. But I think the assumption that Lamar is the guy that we've seen and can only be the guy that we've seen is a little dangerous, because I think I told you this before. He played in a pro-style offense in Louisville, and they've always built this offense in this stretch with Greg Roman. But who's to say if you had him in a more pro-style offense, he can't adjust and be a little bit more of a passer there? We've seen him when forced. I've seen games where he ran one or two times and killed it as a passer in the pocket, threw for over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and just destroyed him. And so he's shown he can do that. The question for him is, can he consistently do it? And so that's why I push back on your thought he's not accurate, he's not a passer. He's shown us he can be all of those things in spurts. The question is, if he was
in an athletes offense, do, bro. That's what athletes do.
But here's what I'm saying. If you have the skill set that he has, and Michael Vick had the same issue. Nobody is a playmaker in the open field with his legs from that position like Lamar.
Oh,
like
never.
And so the balance is, do you want to take away what makes him unique to make him what every other quarterback is? And so because of that, because he does things that other quarterbacks don't have, the assumption is he can't do any of the other things. I don't think that's true. I think that even if you took away Lamar's legs, I think that he could still be a starting caliber quarterback as a pocket passer. But he's not. But he's not an elite quarterback.
If that was the case, he would have come back from the injury. The problem was he was too injured to play his game, and that's why he didn't come back. I don't believe Lamar held out because of the contract. I don't believe that at all. I think the kid couldn't play his game. He needs the knee. He has to be. See, what's it called? Pat Mahomes had the injured leg, but he can stay in the pocket and beat you. Brett Favre years ago played with a mangled leg, but he can play because he's a pocket passer. Russell Wilson about 6 years ago, started the season, his first 6 weeks. He had a high ankle sprain, a knee sprain, and he had another, maybe it might have been a calf or something. Plus, by the way, his line was shitty. He didn't have a really consistent running game, and he started out the first 6 weeks playing. And why? Because he can stay in the pocket and beat you. He doesn't have to run. Lamar Jackson is a guy that cannot make a living from the pocket.
I disagree.
Cannot.
I completely disagree. I
He's
disagree.
Never done it. He's never done it
because he hasn't had to. He hasn't had to. That's like that's
why he doesn't have success in the postseason.
So here's what, like I said, I will relate it to our day-to-day life, right? I was a writer before I became a TV person, right? And now I do TV pretty much all the time. If I do TV for the next 10 years and don't write another story, and you could say, oh, Cam can't write. We don't see him do it. He can't write. He can't write. We don't see him do it. And that is just because I don't do it, because I've evolved into something else and I do that, and that's what I do best. That doesn't mean I can't do this other element. And so the fact that Lamar does not show us as much pocket passing as a Patrick Mahomes, as these other quarterbacks, does not mean that he cannot do it if forced in that situation. I disagree with that. And that's what my whole element is.
By the way, he tried this year. That's what he was trying this year. And that's why they ended up with a lot of field goals.
He got drafted as a first-round pick in a pro-style offense in Bobby Petrino's offense. In college, he played 3 years in a pro-style offense before he got to the league.
It's a running offense.
No, he was running like your legs. He was running they were not consistently designing run plays for him in college. He was a passer. And so that's why I think people just forget that, because he's not done it. Like this offense, you are correct. It is a very much run-first offense. But at the same time, they've allocated the fewest resources at the receiver position as far as money in the last 4 years. They don't give him weapons. His running backs, which is not their fault, his running backs seem to get hurt every single year.
That was the last couple of years.
So he had
running back, and he's had elite tight ends.
He's had yes, but that's been the only spot. He hasn't had a number one receiver his whole career. And so he has been in a position where he's been forced to carry an offense. And when you're forced to carry an offense, you do what you do best and what you're most comfortable with. And that is his ability to make plays with his legs. It doesn't mean he can't pass. It's just that
you don't think they catered it that way because they don't think he can do the other stuff?
I don't. No. That's my opinion. Like I said, we have a different opinion. Okay, I don't think they cater to the offense.
Hold on a second. So basically, you're saying the Ravens front office and coaching staff is stupid because they have a passer, but they're stopping him from passing. So they purposely don't get elite receivers to help him become and evolve the offense better. So you're saying that they purposely think he can't pass.
No,
but you think he can pass.
No, I don't think they're purposely doing that. I just think they struggle drafting receivers. They have drafted receivers time and time again. They drafted Rashad Bateman, who hasn't been this player yet. They drafted Hollywood Brown, who they had to trade away because they're injured.
They become available in free agency. They become available in the trades. You can trade for one. You can actually sign one in free agency.
But I'm telling you, they have never had a number one wide receiver in this offense for Lamar. Never. And so, what was the argument for Tua, right? And I bring it back to Dolphins because we're on a Dolphins podcast. The argument before they got Tyreek and before they got Jalen was Tua needs more around him. He needs a better offensive line. He needs more weapons, right? These are things that quarterback should have. And the fact that Lamar does not have them, we just it's because he can't throw. What? We don't say that for any other quarterback. We didn't say Tua couldn't throw. He just needed more stuff.
No. Wait a minute. Others said he couldn't throw. I never said he couldn't throw.
And I never said it either.
And by the way, with the shitty weapons, he proved over and over that he was a passer. Has always proven that he's a passer. He doesn't have to prove that he's a passer. What we needed was better weapons so he can actually score more, so he can get down. What we said was, it's a dink and dunk offense. Well, look what they've got. They've got no line, no running game. So Waddle doesn't have time to get downfield. So he's catching short passes. Gesicki's making a bunch of plays. Go get him weapons. Well, guess what? You got him weapons, and now he extended his passing from a short to medium passing to the best deep passer in the NFL. Last year.
Tua was great.
So passing was not a question mark with Tua ever. It was more about the weapons that he needed in order to expand the offense. Okay, I wasn't the one talking that he couldn't pass. I never said that.
And I wasn't either, but that wasn't narrative.
The talent and the coaching around him was the problem.
Right.
And sure enough, that's
my point is that when you change the environment for a quarterback, you allow him to be the fullest version of himself. The Dolphins changed the environment. It's a different environment for Lamar and Tua, but they changed the environment with the coaching staff, with an improvement in offensive line, with bringing in Tyreek, and it allowed Tua to be the fullest version of himself. We've not seen the Ravens change the environment for Lamar. So I don't think it's fair to say what the fullest version of him is because we haven't seen that. The Bills, the first 2 years under Josh Allen, he was a sub 60% passer. They went and got Stephon Diggs. They changed his environment and he became a consistent MVP candidate. You change your environment for a quarterback, you can consistently see who the fullest version of him is. Now, I am not fully defending Lamar. He has some things he has to be better at. He's got to be better in how he communicates with his team. He's got to be better in staying healthy. These are things that Lamar has to be better at. But my argument is the Ravens have not done the full job of changing the environment of Lamar to allow him to be the fullest version. I think the assumption that he cannot be a passer, that he cannot do all these things is not fully accurate because we have not seen the Ravens put him in an environment where he could succeed in those elements. That's just.
And by the way, Josh Allen, they gave him the weapons. Numbers have gotten better, and all that, but he still hasn't gotten over that hump either.
Correct, but you consider Josh Allen one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, right?
And that's because he's also inaccurate. Okay,
but you do consider Josh Allen one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, right?
Yeah, because of his physical freakish talent, but I don't consider him a top 5 passer.
So I guess my question is what is the difference?
No, but wait a minute.
I'm not about Josh Allen as a quarterback and Lamar as a quarterback.
Let me go back to your former beat, okay?
Yep.
Because your former beat has our former quarterback.
Yep.
And our former quarterback, which I knew couldn't play and wasn't the guy ever. Well, no, we got to improve everything around him. Well, they gave him everything in Tennessee. And every time you needed him to be a passer, what happened? He needed depends because he was shitting in his pants because that's who he is. Okay, because he's not a passer. He's a athletic, running quarterback. Not to the extent of Lamar, but that's who he is. He's a front runner. He can depend on Derrick Henry. He can depend on a lead. But when you need him to come from behind and lead a team and pass your way out, Tannehill's not going to do that. Tannehill's going to go on script. Josh Allen, by the way, does a lot of crazy stuff and does some amazing plays at times because he's an amazing athlete. But there are moments where you need the quarterback to get it done, and he hasn't been getting it done either. And Lamar Jackson is probably a worse passer than Josh Allen, and probably the same thing as Ryan too. Erratic. Again, when you need a passer, he doesn't come through. So I think the same thing would happen with Lamar. You could give him the weapons. Some of the stats will get better because in the end, you do have better players around you, but you're still going to have to make the throws on a consistent basis. And that's something that these guys struggle with that are great athletes. They will flash you. And I'm sure while you were at Tennessee at times, and the Tennessee fans, saw a couple of throws from Brian, and you said, oh, wow, he can be the guy. No, he can't. It's just that he's an athlete. Athletes will wow us. They will fool us, but they can't do it on a consistent basis because they're not pure passers. And to me, that's what that will be the problem with some of these guys as they try to make this transition. In the end, you got to stay in the pocket and win from the pocket. With the Bills, they depend too much on the run from Josh Allen and crazy plays that he can't necessarily stay there and make a living from the pocket. Lamar has that same problem. He can't make a living from the pocket.
So clearly we have a different view of Lamar, and we've made a lot of arguments here and there. My final point on this is your last point about winning in the pocket. I think that this is going to be a new era coming up, and that's going to completely change. And we're already starting to see it. Jalen Hurts showed us that you can almost win a Super Bowl by not being the quote-unquote pocket passer first player. He ran and does run more than any quarterback we've seen consistently almost be an MVP. And I think
but he's dropping dimes.
Huh?
He's dropping
right, because he evolved as a passer, and they had an offense and a receiver group with A.J. Brown, with Devontae Smith, with the best offensive line in football. And so you surround him, not taking anything away from Jalen Hurts, because I think he's an amazing player, but you put him in a situation where he can be the best version of himself, but you also don't force him to say, hey, stand in the pocket. That's the only way you can win as a quarterback. Nah, that's crap. That's crap. It's a new era of football. You're going to see more and more quarterbacks. We're seeing them coming out in this draft. Anthony Richardson, if he succeeds, is going to be a quarterback similar to these guys, where he may never be a 70% passer, but he is going to be able to win because of the ability to win with his legs and with his arms. And so I think that you're going to see it, like I said, a different era of quarterbacks where winning in the pocket is not going to be a prerequisite to winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I still think we're 10, 20 years away from that, because I still think in the end, you're going to have to be accurate from the pocket. And the guys that all win the titles are all the guys that are accurate from the pocket. All of them.
I think that's about to change really soon. I think that's about to change really soon. I mean, you've been right. You've been right up to the last 55 years, so I cannot argue with that. But I think we're seeing
and over the next
quarterbacks get closer and closer. And I think once it happens, that's going to change NFL teams' mindset on what we need our quarterback to do and look like.
Or it's more a product of what's coming out of college. And so over the next 20 or 30 years, less and less pocket passers will be developed, and more athletic running passers will be developed. And then the involvement will come from those guys will learn to be also accurate from the pocket at the same time. So that way you do end up like Pat Mahomes, like Steve Young. All right. There are guys that we've had through the league that can run, but also can stay in the pocket and be deadly accurate from there and kill you. So you've got to find those kind of guys that evolve eventually, because defenses are so fast and so quick that runners also run into mistakes. They run into sacks. They create problems also for themselves too, and they take unnecessary hits. So the guy that can live in the pocket a lot faster and make quick decisions, one, he's going to last a lot longer. He's going to have a longer career. That's what you want. Because the running quarterbacks aren't going to have a long career, Cam. That's the problem. So.
I think you continue to evolve as an offense. I think Philly's done a great job with Nick Sirianni of minimizing the amount of hits that Jalen Hurts takes, although he runs a lot. But he does not, you don't see him getting consistently hurt. He got the one shoulder injury. That's the only injuries he's had in his first 3 years in the league. But at the same time, I think you're seeing that it's the opposite of what it used to be. I think it's very hard for me as an NFL GM to take a quarterback who is a statue in the pocket and cannot move in the top 10, because I think you need players who can win outside of scheme, who can win when the play breaks down, to move outside of the pocket. Your old cliche pocket passers who run everything out of the pocket, I think that players is going to become more and more extinct, and you're going to need to be a hybrid. That doesn't mean you're not going to have to be accurate from the pocket. I think that element's right. But I think the element of the mobility is going to be more of a prerequisite than, hey, can he stand in the pocket and throw it 50 times without moving outside of the tackle box? I don't think
Yeah,
that'll
I
be
like the mobility of a Rodgers without the dark room and a Mahomes. That kind of mobility and that kind of a passer where it's not necessarily I need my legs to be successful. I need my legs to make that next pass, or I'll take a couple of yards off of you because you're giving me the open field. To me, that's the guy that I would love to find more, is the guy that can run when he has to run or help to create, but not the guy that he needs to run in order to be who he is. That's
right.
where
That's absolutely the goal. But like my whole point with Lamar, and like I said, he has his flaws. I am not saying that he does not have his flaws. He may not be the quintessential quarterback to be a running quarterback and win a Super Bowl. He may never do that. But the quarterbacks we have mentioned that are of that skill set, a Josh Allen, a Jalen Hurts, the difference between them and what the Ravens have done with Lamar, they have surrounded those guys with the right skill set and the players around them to allow them to make the choices of, hey, I can throw the ball downfield to Stephon Diggs. I can throw the ball to AJ and Devontae Smith and consistently do that. Whereas if Lamar is usually back there and he has to make a play, it's Devin Duvernay. Is Devin Duvernay open? Who I don't even know. I don't know any Ravens receivers.
What happened, bro? Duvernay, the first 8 games was a monster.
Yes.
Remember, like this year, the first 8 games, he was like the MVP of the team. Actually,
he was. But when you have number 3 receivers trying to be number 1 receivers at some point, the clock runs out, and so
they figured him out, bro, because he was awesome.
Right.
I think didn't he like? I think he like made X look bad on that in that game, and
one of the Devin Duvernay was awesome. I actually talked to him on the phone before one of our games because he was their top receiver and he had been balling, and we had talked about it. And really, after that game, he had kind of fell off, and so that's the element that I want to see.
So it was you. After he talked to you, his
I was talking. I'm not gonna lie, I was talking up how he was playing, and he was talking about how he's trying to be a number 1. And
you jinxed him.
He was never a number 1 again the rest of the season.
You jinxed him. Jesus, Cam. Damn. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe. If you want him to jinx you, he'll do that. So just reach out to him. Catch him there at the NFL Network wearing some crazy ass shades. Cam, as always, thank you, my brother. Appreciate you. We'll catch up later in the week.
Sounds good.
You got it. There you go. Cameron Wolfe, baby. Good morning football. It's an interesting one. We have unleashed the Wolf Pack.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.